Hello, my name is Joe Micklick. I'm a qualified business and marketing and communications trainer and assessor. And today I'll be guiding you through assessment task 2 for the unit BSBSUS501, Develop Policy and Procedure for Sustainability. Before I guide you through the instructions, in this instance, it would be appropriate if I scroll down and take you to some of the templates towards the bottom of the document, because these templates will be used to fill in the majority of your answers. So in Appendix 2, you've got implementation plan. Appendix 3, monitoring strategy. And Appendix 4, organization structure. So these two templates, that one there, monitoring the strategy, and implementation plan, will host or have the majority of your answers for this assessment. So before we continue on with our case study above, we'll just quickly go through the template here, both of these templates, and get ourselves acquainted and accustomed, familiarized with some of the requirements, because when we do that, then we know how to source our answers, our information from the information above. It's easy to process and comprehend and interpret this information when we know what's required, which is the information contained. Which are our headings for our columns in this implementation plan. So first of all, the implementation plan will include objectives. For instance, reducing energy use is an objective, or engaging staff in supporting sustainability targets is another objective. So when we're going through our assessment, we were looking for action required. We'll be looking for associated target. We'll be looking for resources, timeline, and accountability. For instance, in our action required, installing solar panels could be one you'd come across. Using energy efficient white goods is another one. Or energy efficient light globes. So the action required, but I have to give you the opportunity to fill in the rest of the information. I'm just giving you a few little hints to put you on the right path, and then that'll then propel you, catapult you into completing the other columns there. Another one action that you could use is switch off appliances and put them on standby, such as screensaver computers or even light switches. And another one could be promoting sustainable work practice in the workplace amongst staff and visitors as well. So there's some of the information you'd be looking for in our assessment and case study above. When we get to monitoring strategy, we're on the lookout for description of objective, outcome, activity, task. Follow my cursor here. See, we're here on the left. Monitoring strategy, description of objective, outcome, activity, task. The person responsible, I think that'll be listed in the case study. The metric key performance indicator, KPIs, key performance indicator, baseline, previous year's performance. We saw that in task 1 in the table towards the end, the numerical table, where we saw the expenses as well. We saw the previous year, the current year, and the projection, that keyword envisaged target. So, and data collection methods as well. So all that information you look for in our assessment above, and you list them all in these two tables, this table and the one here, implementation plan. So the majority of the work is listed in these tables. So let's go scroll up all the way to the top, and this should make comprehension more easier. Now, I might add in this instance, there is part A, which are the two tables, and then there's a part B, which is a short presentation, and we'll cover that in a moment. But let's start off with the performance objective. Using the Sydney Opera House corporate documents, as well as additional information provided, you will develop an implementation plan and monitoring strategy to achieve your targets. Implementation plan and monitoring strategy. Implementation plan, there it is there. Appendix 2, implementation plan. And 3, monitoring strategy. There you go. We'll be using these two tables a lot to achieve the targets. For this assessment, you will also communicate sustainability requirements to Sydney Opera House employees, other learners acting as employees, that is, by developing and delivering a presentation, 10 or 15-minute presentation, or training session. Assessment description. For this assessment task, you will review corporate information available from Sydney Opera House and use the targets provided to develop remember that, to develop an implementation plan and monitoring strategy to meet those targets, and use the targets provided. The keywords, remember that, we just went through that, the two tables, target, there you go, and target, there you go there. For monitoring strategy, target for implementation plan. Use the targets provided to develop an implementation plan, and Appendix 2 and Appendix 3 monitoring strategies to meet those targets. Then, using your implementation plan, the Sydney Opera House environmental sustainability policy and other Sydney Opera House documentation, develop a 10 to 15-minute presentation or training session to develop to internal employees, other learners acting as employees of the Sydney Opera House. You should outline the sustainability policy and what it means to Opera House staff. As part of this presentation, you must describe how the revised processes will be implemented and managed. You will need to promote the policy and its expected outcomes and explain how the outcomes affect key stakeholders. So, using the implementation plan, the Sydney Opera House environmental sustainability plan and the Sydney Opera House documentation, develop a presentation. You can do PowerPoints or perhaps list information in a Word document. You'll also need to assign and outline responsibilities for using recording systems to track sustainability improvements. So here's part A, procedure. You will develop an implementation plan and monitoring strategy, both the documents in the appendix, to meet Sydney Opera House targets provided. Look, targets provided here. Review the Sydney Opera House vision, mission, goals, and policies, especially the environmental sustainability policy, especially this, with emphasis on this. These documents are available from the corporate information page at this website there. You click on that and that'll take you there. Complete a sustainability implementation plan using the template provided in Appendix 2. 2. Implement the Sydney Opera House sustainability policy and meet the sustainability targets set out in Appendix 1. In the implementation plan, include 2 or more actions for each target listed in Appendix 1. At least 1 action that involves staff training. At least 1 action that involves communication of staff through a presentation. Now, those actions, I already mentioned several or more of those to get you going on the right track. Remember I mentioned, for instance, you could use promoting sustainable energy use, or switching off unused lights, or installing solar panels. There's some of the information. Among others you could use as well. Use energy efficient light bulbs. So they're their actions bit that'll guide you through those templates. Now, develop a monitoring strategy using template provided in Appendix 3 for meeting the targets. That includes key outcomes expected for each action and person. So outcomes for each action and person, Metrics, key performance indicators for each action. A method of gathering and recording data on sustainability performance. Arrange a meeting with your assessor to explain the actions. Well, I've already done that. You've chosen and gain approval for actions from your assessor. You and your assessor will also need to discuss and agree upon method of recording audience feedback, such as feedback questionnaires, to your presentation or training delivered in Part B of the task. Submit the implementation plan and monitoring strategy, 2 tables, to your assessor. Ensure you keep copies for your records. You will need to refer to this implementation plan in Part B of this task, as well as assessment task 3, the last task of this unit. Now, if we look at Part B, it says, using your implementation plan, you will develop a presentation or training session for Sydney Opera House employees. Your aim is to use the presentation or training to improve resource efficiency at the Sydney Opera House. Next point. Using your implementation plan, choose to either design and deliver a presentation according to the action that involves communication to staff through a presentation, or training session according to action that involves training plan to Sydney Opera House.